The Zambian government, the president, Edgar Lungu, abruptly fired the Reserve Bank governor and replaced him with the deputy finance minister. That drew the ire of people in wide quarters, including our own finance minister, Tito Mboweni, who says that this was out of order. He got reprimanded for his comments, but to discuss this further, I'm now joined via Zoom by Dr. Charles Sinkala, who's the president of Africa 55 States, an organization of African Political Parties Forum. Dr. Sinkala, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. So a lot of people were quite shocked, particularly the finance minister in South Africa, by the sacking of Zambia's Reserve Bank governor. The finance minister here got reprimanded for that, but did he have some good points to make about the issue?
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter, for having me, and good evening to your viewers. I'd like to begin to say that the world will never be destroyed by those people who do evil, but it will be destroyed by those people who sit and do nothing about what is happening. Yes, we have to look at Minister Tito Mboweni, and his actions. We must remember, if we go back, that Tito Mboweni has been a governor of South African Revenue Central Bank, and as well as he was appointed as the Southern Africa chair for all central banks within the SADC region, as well as the continental level. So he is fully aware of the dynamics and the politics within the central banks in Africa, and especially through the influence of political interference and the challenges which they face. Tito Mboweni, this is not the first time that he's made remarks or tweets about something which he considers not to be all right, even within South Africa and outside South Africa, not only Zambia, but he has done a lot of tweets and he's been commenting on two different platforms. But if we look at his tweets, he was simply saying, and in fact, I have to mention that Tito Mboweni is one of the panels who drafted some reforms within the central banks, especially in Zambia, and that draft constitutional amendment is sitting in parliament in Zambia, that the appointments of officials within the Central Bank of Zambia has to go through the processes, not by being appointed by the president. He believes as well that even in terms of dismissing central bank chief, processes has to be followed for them to consider other factors. So his tweet really did not mean to undermine the sovereign state of Zambia. His tweet was shocked to see that Dr. Kalyalya was actually doing very well given under the circumstances of this COVID pandemic, and he actually performed well. And I think even within the country, Zambia itself, we've had the complaints from the leader of the main opposition party, Hakainde Hichilema, who mentioned that how can you remove a surgeon, in the process of the heart surgery and replace him with a mechanic. This is the time that we needed permanent positions within the central bank.
All right, so I suppose the issue here really is that his sentiments perhaps make sense, but diplomacy probably wasn't his strong point in communicating it. But let's talk about Zambia then, and Zambians seeing their president taking this action. What should they be thinking? Because today their currency dropped again. It's the second worst performing currency in the world. It's Eurobonds again dropping, and so there's been real damage done to Zambia's currency and Eurobonds as a result of this decision. And I'm sure that citizens must be asking why.
Yeah, it's actually a poor governance on the hands of President Lungu. This is a processes that Tito Mboweni formulated that before any official within the finance department can be replaced. The due processes has to be followed. and as well the inclusion as well of investment and the exchange, stock exchange feasibility, in terms of reforms. So the reaction is not very good because, it is very unusual, especially in Zambia, that on a Saturday, the president will call on a press conference to replace a governor, of a position that is very sensitive to the economy of the country. I mean, even the IMF has released a statement that, the independence of the central banks has to be very handled very carefully, in terms of trading, including the human capital. So it is not all good on the ground. I mean, President Lungu has been digging his own grave. He's been distancing himself from the people of Zambia, even when he knows that he's going for the elections next year, in 2021 August. So. This is a problem in governance which we have found in African governance. That's why things stays the same and there's no change, because we do not have permanent people in positions. If you look at countries which has embarked on the development like China, China has had key institution being presided by people who's been staying there for more than 20 years. There's continuity of policy implementation. But if you look at Zambia itself, just immediately after he won the elections, he appointed a new finance minister, and 3 months later he put in another one, Felix Mutati, who stayed less than a year as well. He appointed another one. So because of lack of maintaining a policy and structures within the financial institutions or any other institutions, these reduces the economic activities, including the confidence for investment as well as the policy, because of the adjustment. And I think President Lungu must not look at it as it is an interference on the governance of the sovereignty of Zambia. But Tito Mboweni, if you check his tweet, if you read it carefully, he mentioned that we want to know, tell us why you have fired the governor, and when he says us, tell us us, he's not looking at the borders between South Africa and Zambia. He's looking at an African continent that would be independent of the central bank without any let and hindrance in the activities and the performance of the central bank to improve on the economic activities. And we must not look at also from the point of bilateral agreements and sovereign relations between South Africa and Zambia, that this will hinder it. We must draw a line that what is wrong, and the countries has to come out in openly, whether they are ministers or the presidents, that beyond the bilateral relationship, because that's a blurry that if something is not going right, they must condemn it or talk about it, because these are issues that is making countries like South Africa now, if you look at the whole continent, it is at war, and most of the people now are coming to South Africa for the fact that South Africa has continued to do quite a diplomacy in terms of intervening or even advising their brothers and sisters who are governing in the continent on the other side. As President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is the chairperson of AU as well, he was trying to keep a name, but the reprimand or disapproval of Tito's tweet was not because the tweet was wrong, but the reprimand was based that in his capacity as finance minister, he should not make such statements. But if you look at that Twitter account, it's not a government of South Africa Twitter account. It's a personal Twitter account, and Tito Mboweni has got his own rights, freedom of speech. He doesn't have boundaries. He can have freedom of speech wherever and the rest of the continent or the world.
All right, Dr. Sinkala, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very much indeed for your insights this evening. All right, that's Dr. Charles Sinkala sharing his thoughts with us. He's the president of the Africa 55 States Organization on African Political Parties Forum. President Lungu, of course, has not actually responded to questions of why he fired the Reserve Bank governor. And his spokesperson says, look, let's allow people to debate, reiterating that Mvunga's appointment is subject to Parliament's ratification. So still no word from the president why he made that move.